Every association has a tight budget. You and I are both aware that your budget is funded from the hard-earned cash of your homeowners. Since Mother Nature and Father Time dictate the cost of deterioration, we have to focus on the income needed to keep deterioration at bay. The three tools we have at our disposal are increases to budgeted reserve transfers, special assessments, or loans, or sometimes a combination of those strategies. Some of those solutions are better suited to your association than others. But one thing you absolutely need to do is stop doing what you're currently doing, making the problem worse. Figure out a plan with your local reserve study professional and implement the plan. Remember, Mother Nature and Father Time aren't going to wait. Let's turn to that subject. How are you going to be okay? Let's get you a plan and let's get you some cash. And this portion of the program we call What Are Our Options? And we start off with the understanding and the expectation that all of you are going to say, well, my budget's tight. I get that. I've been in this industry 38 years, and every association that I've worked on says their budget is tight. Large associations, small associations, old ones, new ones, high rises, sprawling plan developments, they all say their budget's tight. What are you going to do in the light of your budget being tight? Well, there's a chart that I'm showing that is the cost of deterioration at this association. It starts out at this point in time, about $12,000 per year, and it's gradually going to float upward with inflation as all their things, all their projects get a little more expensive each year. Same association, same project, but everyone gets inflated, and it's just their roof, their asphalt, their pool, their elevator. The expectation is this is what we're going to have to face at our association. The question is, again, what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to divide the problem into two parts. One is the expenses, and let's talk about that first. Can you make some of your expenses go away? Well, maybe or maybe not. You can defer some of them carefully or creatively. We've done a webinar recently, earlier this year actually, that talked about how it gave some examples where I had an association with 2 elevators and very little money. They're old elevators. They're starting to break down more often. What we helped them figure out was to get one elevator modernized. Basically, cut the project cost in half and plan to do the other one in 5 years with everyone primarily using the new elevator in the interim. And that was able to give them enough time to get this project done, use the backup elevator for a few minutes, or not a few minutes, for basically it was going to be about a year, and then have the new elevator that's going to be reliable, faster, smoother, and cross their fingers that they could make it 5 years while they accumulated more funds to get that second one. So there's ideas like that you can do. You can perhaps spread out some roof projects. Maybe they don't all have to be done in 1 year. Maybe you can spread them out over 3 or 4 or 5 years. But I want to make it clear that those things need to get done. There's very few projects that you can actually snap your fingers and make them go away. An example might be a small solution like a pool restroom. Let's say maybe you have a men's and a ladies' room at this point in time, and maybe you close one and just make it into a storage room and make the other one a unisex room. That's probably fine, as much as the pool restrooms get used. And that can save you half of your cost of renovating pool restrooms. But remember, ignoring roofing, painting, asphalt, hallways, elevators, boilers, chillers doesn't make them go away. Those projects are still there, needing to get done. So it's very rare that you can actually make a project go away. Sometimes you can minimize the cost by taking good care of it and getting 25 years out of something that originally you expected to only be able to get 20 years of service in. So you can defer some things if you care for them or if you creatively manage them, but you can't magically solve problems just on the expense side. You need to talk about cash. You need to talk about income. You have 3 tools here: increasing your budgeted assessments, levying a special assessment, or getting a loan. There's three tools that we have here. And I'm going to walk you through what these look like. First is talking about increasing your assessments. And the first is a step increase. Remember, our hypothetical here is that the deterioration rate at this association is $12,000 per month, and it's going to go up with inflation. And so what this association did, they've been setting aside $8,000, $6,000, $5,000, whatever, over the past 10 or 20 years. They've got themselves a healthy deficit, but they have governing documents, their state law that allows them to increase their assessment to $12,500. Okay? And that's a little bit more than their deterioration rate. So they're not falling further behind, and they're actually a little bit each year catching up. So maybe they're at 30% funded this year, 33%, 38%, 42%, 47%, 50%, things like that. They're gradually catching up. And the concept here is that in so many cases, you don't have to magically solve the entire problem all at once. It took you years or decades to get into this jam. Often there's ways to figure out a strategy that can take you years to get out. But this is the case of a step increase in monthly assessments. Or you can do what we call a ramp increase. If you don't have a pressing expense, maybe you can start to right the ship over the course of a few years, where starting at $8,000 a month, $9,000, $10,500, you see the progression here, and finally you are cash positive to your reserve fund. You're rebuilding it, and for all these years, you're rebuilding your reserve until finally you're pretty much where you want to be. So that's an example of a ramp increase. You can do this if you have the time, if you have the year. Now, in a situation where you have a pressing, imminent problem, you may be forced to do a special assessment. You need a lot of cash right now. You don't have time to raise the assessments and collect a year or 2 or 5 years worth of higher monthly reserve transfers. So in this case, let's say you pass a special assessment here after you take a year to get things figured out. This solves the immediate problem, gets you through the rapids, and then you have a few years to catch up with your reserve funding until you're even with the ongoing rate of deterioration. Basically, this buys you time. It gets you through the rapids, and then if someone paid the special assessment, you don't hit them with a big step increase. You just start saying, hey, folks, to avoid a special assessment in the future, we're on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-year plan to get to where we need to be. All right, that's what a special assessment plan can look like. Or it can be a loan plan. And I want to make sure you understand this. Same hypothetical that you started out at $8,000 per month at this place. You've been underfunding for years, and the banker says, okay, we can give you a loan with 2 conditions. You pay it all back in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and you raise your assessments high enough that not only are you keeping up with ongoing deterioration, you're paying me back because I need the money to you. I gave it to you, you borrowed it, and now it's time for you to give it back. So what you look at here, look how high their reserve funding, their reserve transfers have gone. 15 grand. That's almost twice what they had been doing. And so the lesson here is that once you are beholden, once you are accountable to a banker who has given your money, they make the rules. They are the boss. And if they say you need to significantly increase your assessment, the only thing you can say is, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. Now, if I look at this, I think, holy smokes, if this association would have increased their assessment 5 years ago, even just up to their cost of deterioration, they could have avoided this whole problem and an expensive loan. So yes, loans are a viable option for many associations, but they're an expensive choice. All right. As I was preparing for this webinar the last week, I have a sample property and I was going to walk you through some actual thought process and help me develop this kind of thing. And I realized I wanted to show you the examples and realized that I had enough content here that I didn't have time to actually do the show and tell. So the question is, do you want to watch this demonstrated in real time? And so get your hands ready to raise hands, because I'll record going through some of these decision points with our UPlanet software to illustrate what I would do in this situation or that situation, what are their options on a sample property. And give me a hands raised if you would like me to shoot a little web capture video. It'll probably end up being 20 minutes or so that you can look at on your own. Paige, did I describe it appropriately?
Yeah, I believe so. And it looks like hands are up. So there's definitely interest.
Okay.
And just to clarify, so this would be a video that Robert records and then includes a link in the webinar outline. So make sure that you fill out the survey at the end of the webinar to receive that outline, but it'd be something that you get to watch on your own time. Yeah, definitely some interest coming in, Robert.
Okay, cool. Are we at the 50% point? Because if people don't care, then I'm not going to shoot it.
We are definitely getting to the 50% point.
Okay, I will. Yeah, that was my magic number. So I'll presume your estimate is good, and we'll move on with the program. And I'll shoot a little web capture video this weekend. In addition to cash, there may be some other problems in your path, and that's some absence of annual increases at your association. Basically, if you've trained your association to not expect increases, they are resistant to change. That's a problem. Or if you have a history of special assessments and your owners feel tapped out, they're like, okay, we've given more than enough money to you guys and we are done. And that sometimes goes hand in hand with no trust in the board, where the board has no what we call political capital. So there's financial cash and there's goodwill that is political capital. So there's these other factors that are dialed into this, where if you have no history of increases, you basically trained your association to live in the past. If you've been special assessing them, they're probably tired and worn out. And if you've been closed with your board meetings, closed with financials, if you have, well, I'm not going to go down all the things, but I'm a real believer in transparency and open financials. So if you don't have the owners trusting you, then you have an additional problem. And I just wanted to show this slide that it is very expensive to pay back a loan compared to a special assessment, compared to budgeted funding. Budgeted funding is magic because you put the money in over time, over 15 years, over 20 years, whatever it is, you earn interest. The bank is actually helping your association. And the opposite is the case in a loan where you are helping the bank. You're paying interest to the bank. And the whole idea here is that there are options. There's expense side options and there's funding side options. And discuss it with your reserve side professional. They are going to know what custom solution might work best for you. And at the same time, start knocking on doors. Show some goodwill. Make your message clear that the association, there's a bad guy out there. It's Mother Nature and Father Time. We need to keep up. Our assessments haven't kept up, and we need your help to be on board because there's going to be an assessment increase. You got to start knocking on doors. At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.